Bring us a word in season.
Okay, is that working? Morning, folks. I stand. Can you turn down a bit? Thanks. Kind of standing in front of you today with a really heavy heart. We had as a church family last Sunday night, we had a tragedy. Christian, who was a young man in the church, he'd been a teenager in the church, and he'd come back as a young man in the church. And just a couple of months ago, we baptised him with Chelsea, his fiancée. He died suddenly at home on Sunday night. And it's a tragedy. And I was with them, with Natalia and Chelsea, as they were weeping over him. And I was praying with them in the room after he'd passed. And they were just holding on to him and weeping. And his auntie was in the room at the same time. And she turned to me and she said, she just asked why. And it's a natural human reaction. It's kind of my reaction, to be honest, to start off with. And I remember Christian as a teenager. Somebody messaged me during the week, remembered when he first started coming with his mum and the twins were babies. And I remember there was one Sunday when we picked him out. He sat over there and we picked him out and we prophesied over him that he was going to be a man after God's own heart. And it was, he was a teenager and he walked away, pursued a different lifestyle for a season. But recently when he came back, and I've been praying for him. I've got a list, folks. I've got a list of people I pray for. I've got a list of people I pray for to come to faith and come back to faith, and I pray for prodigals. And I pray for them. I try every day, but I'm not very good. I pray most days. And I've been praying for Christian for years. And the day he walked in, I was like, wow, with Chelsea. And I ran over to him afterwards. And it's like Jesus told this. One of my favourite parables is the parable of the prodigal son. And it's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story of a son that walks away for a season and does his thing. And I'm not going to go into the details of the parable. But when he turns back to come back, okay, he's coming, his head's low. But the father in the story runs across the village, right? Old people don't run in that culture. They do in my culture, but they don't run in that culture. And for the man to run across the village was like a shameful act. And he ran across the village, and he put a ring on his son, and he put a robe over him, and he embraced him, covered his shame and brought him back, and they had a big party. And I think the beautiful thing for me in the tragedy that we've got at the minute, the beautiful thing is that the father had done that with Christian and with Chelsea. He put a ring on their finger. He put a robe around them. And the father's embrace and welcomed him. He was on a journey. And he had such promise. And a young family. And you think, why? And do you know what, folks? It's okay to be shocked. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to have questions and be angry, even. But in John 9, there's this story of Jesus with a blind man. And the blind man is brought to Jesus, and we're shown a human approach to these things, and we're shown a God approach. And the human approach, we ask why. They asked, the people around said, with this blind man, who sinned? Was it him or his parents? They want to know what the reason is, why this thing has happened. And Jesus says, Basically, he says neither, and you've got the wrong approach. Because actually it's what I'm going to do. And how I'm going to be glorified, and God will be glorified, and good will somehow come out of it. And so while we will ask why, because we're humans, and we don't understand why, actually we've got a God who loves us, he loves you. And somehow, he's going to work good out of a horrible situation. I was kind of trying to find scriptures to help. and I was sat in my bedroom, and we've got a full-length, nice mirror in the bedroom. And there's a verse in 2 Corinthians 13:12 that says, it tells us we see as in a mirror. We see dimly and darkly as in a mirror. And I'm sitting there in 2026 looking at a mirror that is pretty much perfect. But back then, they were dull, and they were rusty, and they didn't show the full glory. And what the Apostle Paul is saying in that 2 Corinthians 13 verse is that we don't see the whole picture. God sees the whole picture. He understands. He knows. We don't. And in our pain and in our questions, somehow we just have to trust in a good God. A God that will work out somehow his good purposes and will bring us comfort and will do his thing. And there's a tension, isn't there? Because some of you, and I've had questions this week, I've had texts this week, phone calls this week, we're confused. And there's going to be a tension of the sorrow and the heartache and the questions, but also knowing that earth isn't yet heaven. Because one day Jesus is going to return, and he's going to make a new heaven and a new earth, and he's going to sort it all out. And we will get to have perfect, pain-free bodies to enjoy a new heaven on a new earth forevermore. And there will be no more tears. There will be no more pain. No more dodgy knees. No more mourning. Because he's going to sort it out. So we got this tension. But then we've also got this, that we grieve. But we grieve oh so differently from the world. If you've got a Bible, you might want to turn with me to 1 Thessalonians 4:13 to 17. I'm going to read it just briefly. 1 Thessalonians 4:13 to 17. Brothers and sisters, we do not want you to be uninformed about those who sleep in death, so that you do not grieve like the rest of mankind who have no hope. For we believe that Jesus died and rose again. And so we believe that God will bring with Jesus those who have fallen asleep in him. And according to the Lord's words, we tell you that we who are still alive, who are left until the coming of the Lord, will certainly not precede those who have fallen asleep. For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command, with the voice of an archangel, and with the trumpet call of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. After that, we who are still alive and are left will be caught up together with him in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And so we will be with the Lord forever. Therefore, encourage one another with these words. Church, we're not like the world. We've got a hope. We've got a hope that is not like the world's hope, that they hope that England will finally win the World Cup, because that ain't sure and certain. Pretty sure no, I won't comment. We've got a hope that is anchored on Jesus' death and resurrection. Okay? Certain. It's true. It's going to happen. Paul often uses the word sleep for death. When he's talking about believers, he often says things like those, and I've read it, those who have fallen asleep in him. Because for us as believers, death is not the end. Okay? One day, we're going to get risen again. I mean, he's with Jesus right now. You know, Jesus promised the thief on the cross, the one next to him on the cross, today you will be with me in paradise. His spirit, his soul is right there with Jesus now. He's in paradise, no more pain. But one day he's going to get a new body, as we all will. He will rise. Okay? We have hope. And the hope comes from Jesus. Christian was just 22, same age as my twins, same school year as my twins. But there was another young man, about 33 years old, who died tragically, run afoul of the occupying government and corrupt religious leaders, and was murdered on a cross. That young man was God in the flesh, was Jesus. And his untimely death resulted on the third day in a resurrection, the first resurrection. And because of that, even now, 2,000 years later, we have hope. We have hope because Jesus, who is God, took on flesh, and he loved us enough to die for us. And he died and rose again, so that when those of us that believe, we have this powerful thing to believe. And in verse 14, it talks about Jesus. Actually, not verse 14. A bit later, verse 15, 16. It talks about when he comes back, those who have already fallen asleep will rise with him. And what Paul's getting at here is that when Jesus returns, the dead will rise to meet him in the air. They will get their new body in the air, their resurrection body. They will go up first, as it were. When the trumpet call happens, those that are dead will get a new body and be with him. And then, so Christian, already in heaven, just like the man on the cross, who Jesus said, today you'll be with me in paradise. His soul, his spirit is in the presence of Jesus. And he's aware of the goodness of God. And he's aware that he's not in pain. Now we're left here. We're left here grieving. And right now for you guys, it feels like life as you knew it has ended. But one day, you will meet him again. Because the central promise, the wonderful promise here, verse 17, they've risen. After that, we who are still alive and are left will be caught up together with them. Together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. There will be a reuniting. We'll be together. Every tribe, every tongue, every nation, every child whose name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life, we will get to see him again. And we'll get to be with Jesus forevermore. Revelation 21:4 says, he will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, no mourning, no crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. What a day that will be. It's no surprise that at the end of Revelation it says, Maranatha, oh Lord, come. Come on. Come on, Lord, please. Come. So we have hope. We have hope that his spirit, because he loved Jesus, is with Jesus. We have hope that one day when the resurrection finally happens for the rest of us, we will get to be reunited and be together and knowing Jesus and loving Jesus together. And then it says right at the end of that passage, it says, therefore encourage one another with these words. Encourage, lift one another up. The word encourage means to put courage in. Give one another courage. If you're struggling today, be encouraged, be strengthened by these words, by Jesus, his death and his resurrection, and the hope that we have. Be strengthened by them. Be encouraged. Be filled with encouragement and courage. There's such hope in the gospel. Church, you're already doing it. But the Bible tells us to comfort one another. The weeks and the months ahead are going to be difficult for the family. And many of you already know that grieving is a painful, painful process. God is the God of all comfort, who comforts us so that we can comfort others. And so our job as a church family, is to comfort one another, to love one another, to encourage one another in these days. I was doing a Bible study with the Iranians, a simple English Bible study, and we were talking about church being family. And we talked about church being full of with brothers and sisters, because we've been adopted into God's family. We are brothers and sisters together. But in the church there's, and I know that Africans, I love it, uncles and aunties. I love the way Benedict calls everybody uncle who's older than him. I love it. We're family. There's uncles and there's aunties in the church. And there's mums and there's dads. Okay, and at this time, folks are going to need that. Chelsea and Natalia are going to need brothers and sisters and mums and dads in the Lord to walk with them. Care and love in the family who are grieving. Things like rallying around, I don't know, dropping a meal in, running an errand, helping with forms, having a listening ear, and helping with the little one. Chelsea, Natalia, church. Psalm 23 verse 4 says this: even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, and your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Psalm 23. God promises that you cannot flee from his presence. Whether you're on the mountaintop or in the valley of the shadow of the death, God's presence is with you. You do not need to fear tomorrow, because God is with you and he will comfort you. Church family, we'll comfort one another, we'll comfort the family, but ultimately it's God who brings comfort, and he will carry you through. He promises it. He's going to carry you through to the day of completion. That's Philippians 1. We're going to pray. I'm going to pray. I was talking with Chelsea in the week, and we were beginning to talk about funeral songs, and she said how much they loved a particular song. So I'll get Cameron up. He knows which it is. We'll sing that song in a moment. But let me pray. Jesus, we love you. God, we love that you are the great and awesome God. We love that you are sovereign and you're a good God. And right now, God, many of us are wrestling with the whys, as only humans do. But God, we just ask you to come. Father, you would come and reveal yourself today, Lord. That you would bring comfort, that you would bring your presence. Lord, that you bring a rock steady, strong assurance of the goodness of God. And you've got hold of us and you will carry us through to completion. We thank you for the hope of the gospel. That one day we will meet brothers and sisters, fiancés, first sons. We will meet them again. And we'll be with you in resurrected bodies, with no more tears, no more pain, only the goodness of God. Lord, encourage us with these words today. Fill us with hope today. Pour out your blessing upon us today. Father, I pray that you keep knocking on the door of hearts today, Lord.